It's been a fun one, hasn't it, so far?
Tell you what, I mean, even by crazy NBA standards, this day is absolutely remarkable on so many levels. I mean, just the fact that Kevin Durant says, I want to get traded, and I mean, a trade involving him is going to take at least 4 teams to get done because of all the draft choice compensation that's going to be necessary, not to mention whatever available, usable talent in the immediate that is going to be required to get this thing done. And then the Brunson thing, and, you know, look, from a Maverick standpoint, a Maverick fan standpoint, it hurts, but it's like, okay, you've known about it for 72 hours. You got to move on. It's time to move on, next move, whatever that move is. I am, you know, kind of disappointed in just seeing the accounts, if indeed these accounts are true, of, you know, arranging meetings and then canceling meetings, whether it was with Miami, which now says they never had a meeting plan, or even with the Mavericks, who they were going to meet with. At the very least, can we be civil about it? I mean, this just comes across as, you know, canceling meetings and whatnot is extremely childish.
Chuck, do you feel like, though, that with Nico and Mark and Kid, though, that they were at just a certain level of what they were willing to do, and they just weren't gonna move off that spot? So is there a reason to have a meeting if, in fact, that they were pretty dug in on what they were going to do?
Well, you know, even if Jalen had decided that this is it, you know, listen, on one hand, you say, hey, you know, thanks for the last 4 years. If you're the Mavericks and if you're Jalen, you say, hey, you know, really, thanks for developing me. Thanks for believing in me and working with me, you know, never mentioning, you know, the contract situation and, of the last year, whether or not an extension should have been offered. But, you know, they turned, the 33rd pick in the overall draft into a multi-millionaire, because of the work that they did with him. So, I mean, I think there's a sense of civility, at least in my eye, that could have happened with that, even if minds ultimately were not going to be changed.
Yeah, it makes it seem like maybe there was some sort of a resentment from Brunson's side. Did you get the feeling that he didn't like the organization or Texas or Dallas or anything?
Never got that sense. I mean, I don't, you know, again, I wasn't around the team a whole lot, you know, on the road last year. So, you know, it's hard to see, you know, all the interactions that could take place. Listen, I know Jalen loved Jason Kidd, and loved playing for Jason Kidd, and Jason Kidd made it his mission in life to get Jalen Brunson paid, and my God, did he ever. So from that standpoint, but I would imagine, yeah, you know, there would have to be some resentment in that, you know, it's like they were always seemingly looking to get rid of him or just to have him be part of something bigger and, you know, and chasing the quote unquote big fish, which, you know, this franchise has done for the better part of a decade, and they've not succeeded in acquiring that player.
Do you think the Mavs will eventually regret not going higher and giving him the kind of money that would keep him?
He was far more important to the Mavericks, quite frankly, than I think he is to the Knicks. Just because of how he plays off of Luka, knows how to play off of Luka. I'm interested to see, you know, just over 82 games, you know, when he is the focal point, what ultimately that looks like in what, I don't want to say Tom Thibodeau's offense is prehistoric, but it's not particularly modern either. So, you know, how does that all work? I think just the relationship that Jalen had with Luka, with the relationship, you know, I have seen certainly with Dorian and with, you know, just the players in the locker room. I think he loved playing here. I really do. But ultimately, you know, he chose the chance to be with family. The chance to be really with his dad, with the guy who basically is his godfather, you know, and a guy that's known him since high school, the ability to coach him, and have that, you know, lead role, if you will, as opposed to playing next to Luka on a better team, a team that's certainly closer toward real success in the NBA than the Knicks are right now. And that was always going to be the question, wasn't it, going into free agency, right? I mean, do you want your own team to run, or do you want to be a part of an ensemble, where you are, you may be the second fiddle, but you've got a better chance to win a championship. And I always thought, frankly, that Jalen Brunson was all about winning, and I do believe he's all about winning. But when they money whip you like that, pretty hard to turn it down.
Chuck, I'm going to ask you an unfair question, and it's not about USC and UCLA leaving to go to the Big Ten. But it's a question.
What a story that is, man.
No, I know, and I know you love that kind of stuff too. But I'm going to ask you a question, unfair question of like, okay, what is next? And you talk about, it's great. I'm glad you're back around the team more and through the run and all that. But, if you could crystal ball this thing, do you have a path that maybe can give us some clues?
I mean, I don't think they can fully replace what Jalen Brunson does. They even if Goran Dragic comes here, which is all the rage. And by the way, he was great today. He was great today alongside Luka for Slovenia against Croatia. He looked really good and looked like the player that a lot of people, that we've always thought he was, but certainly wasn't last year. Anything that happens through trade. Tell me who becomes available. And I mean, I think that Nico's all over that. I mean, they do have very tradable contracts. But who is that player? I don't know who that player is. I mean, all they can do in the short term is use the veteran minimum probably to sign Dragic, and then they've got the taxpayer mid-level at 6.3, and they'll probably get somebody out of that who I would think would have more of a defensive bent to him. And then look, they got Spencer Dinwiddie here. He was great last year. He's going to have to be great. He's going to have to be something other than the 40% lifetime shooter and 30% three-point shooter than he's been in his career. If he plays like he played with the Mavericks last year, I mean, that would be terrific. That would certainly be helpful. But more importantly, they're going to need Luka to be at an MVP level from the get-go. And at least the early signs are here in the summertime that he's ready to take on that role. And I think, this team grew from within, and I think it's going, for at least in the short term, probably to grow from within until some type of opportunity moves to where they have those contracts that are, in that $16 to $19 million range that they're going to be able to move to try to get somebody bigger and theoretically better.
Okay, Chuck, so every time then we hear some rumor about, Kyrie or something like that, I mean, is that one of those ones you just say, how? Is that a how? Like throw up your how? Is that your reaction when you hear stuff like that?
Well, that and the fact that I think it's become pretty evident with the Mavericks over the last several years that when they make a trade, it's when they actually make the trade that you know about it.
Right.
There are no leaks coming from Cuban or Nico or Michael Finley or anybody else in that room. And there are some really good reporters that, have some really good connections in that room. But, like when they made the Porzingis trade, nobody knew that was coming.
Right.
When they made the trade a long time ago to get Caron Butler and Brendan Haywood from Washington, nobody knew that was coming. The only trade that they ultimately have telegraphed in the Cuban era, as far as I can remember, was the Jason Kidd trade, because Dirk said he wanted Jason Kidd on the team. So they were going to do everything they could to go get him. But other than that, when they make a trade is when any names that get thrown out by reporters. I mean, that's just throwing stuff up against the wall and hoping it's going to stick.
Chuck Cooperstein with you. Do you think in a contract year, after maybe being humbled, Jason Kidd could get championship level play out of Kyrie Irving again, or has that ship sailed?
I think, listen, it's all in Kyrie's head. Kyrie, when he wants to play, is remarkable. He's a remarkable player. It's all in his head. And I guess, look, if he took the attitude, Jalen Brunson, I'm going to get you paid, I would have to believe that he could go to Kyrie Irving. I mean, if Kyrie Irving, has any sense of history, and he seems to suggest that he does, although it's always somewhat questionable, Jason Kidd's one of the greatest point guards to ever play in the NBA. And if Jason Kidd believes that he could get the most out of Kyrie Irving, I mean, I don't know what Kyrie thinks of Jason Kidd. I mean, look, when he was a kid, when Kyrie Irving was a kid, watching Jason Kidd, I mean, growing up in the New York metropolitan area and the Nets were going to finals, I would think that there would be some type of respect factor involved. But with Kyrie, who knows?
Chuck, I know you spent some time in New York, and you know that market very, very well. And if I could circle back, is Brunson's got the tough skin to handle that up there, doesn't he? I mean, I kind of feel like that maybe that is a good fit for the Knicks up there with him.
Well, I mean, look, he definitely can handle it, but at the same time, I mean, they're a lot rougher up there than they are down here.
Sure.
They just are. I mean, Mark Berman and at the Post and Christian Winfield, the Daily News and the columnists, they're all over the place. If the Knicks have a bad 2 weeks and Brunson has, a slump, which inevitably somebody's going to have during the course of the season, they're going to jump on him like nobody's business. But, again, he's going to be around his dad. He's going to be around his godfather. Going to be around a coach that's known him forever. I mean, he's got the infrastructure there. If he is feeling at all down about himself, to be able to fight through that. Listen. I think he's a really good player, and I think he is going to help the Knicks. But if Knicks fans look at him as a savior, which if you're paying someone that much money, it's understandable if they do think that way. But you shouldn't think that way. Then they're going to be in for some disappointment, I think. But the crazy thing about all of this is that maybe Jalen Brunson is the guy that is tough enough that if he's playing with Julius Randle, who obviously had rabbit ears last year, heard everything and read everything that was said about him, maybe he's able to rub off on him and make him a better player.
All right, Chuck, and my final one for me today is: did the Mavs misevaluate how quickly somebody could get rid of cap space in order to go get their guy?
Well, I think listen, this goes back 4 years. This goes back to the initial contract. Well, why they allowed that contract to begin with, to where they were not going to have a team option on him, or to allow him to recover, or to be a restricted free agent after the third year, which pretty much every second round draft choice gets, is beyond me. I'll never understand that. But yeah, I mean, clearly they misread the market. It's one thing to say, well, we don't want to sign you because, right now, because we think, we want to maybe, have the flexibility to go do something bigger later on. But then when you don't do something bigger later on and include him and you're stuck, I mean, what does that mean? I mean, it's not, let's put it this way, it's not the Mavericks' finest hour when it comes to all of that.